Any committee of the whole meeting for Tuesday, August 16th. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If we could all rise for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Doing roll call, all council members are present except for Councilman Lundin. He did call ahead of time and has been excused. Any public comment at this time? No public comment. Let's move on to committee meeting items, agenda request by Amy and Richard, and I'm gonna hack your last name up to get apart, so I'm not even gonna try it. I would have had the Chishita. That's what I was going to say. Ms. Wood, would we like these folks to step forward, or do you have anything, or?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I do have some information to share on this particular item. I think that we could start off by letting them share, since they did request to come to council with a request of theirs. And then I can also add in some additional information from staff's perspective upon their request afterwards.
Okay, if you guys would like to step up to the podium, just state your name and address for the record, if you would, please.
Richard Michael Cheetah Sr., 419 Cardinal Court, Isanti, Minnesota.
Amy Lynn Cheetah.
Same address.
Same address.
Same address.
I hope so.
Amazing. We have an issue with the water being turned off. We had a leak. The water heater had gotten a leak in it. We didn't know it at first. It was small and it got a little bit bigger. But we're addressing it now. It's in the process of being replaced. We went to tankless, so we went and bought a tank. We went to tankless, so the problem's being resolved. We've been keeping up on the bill. The bill's been about $150 a month, roughly like that. And we've been keeping up on it. Now all of a sudden we got a tag. We're getting charged $650. It seems like it's every 2 weeks because we gave, with funding that we got and help we got and money we saved on top of buying the water heater, we've given almost $2,000 toward the bill, and they want another $2,000 plus to turn it back on. And it's because of the $650. I think it's a little ridiculous. If we just paid for the water usage at $150 a month, it'd be no different than having a hose on outside. I just don't understand. It's not like it was blowing all over the place or anything. So we're being charged an outrageous amount just pulled out of the air for the water, and I just don't understand it. I've never seen it written anywhere, but I just don't think it's fair, and I can't afford it. I'm medically unable to work. I'm home on Social Security and fixed income. It was hard as heck to save up to get the water heater, which is what took so long to fix the problem. $1,000 I just don't have. So we had to, go behind a month on a house so we could afford that. And then they came and shut it off. They wanted another $2,000. What do you want me to do? You want me to return the water heater and we continue with the problem, or you want me to fix the problem? I'm at my wit's end. I'm trying to do everything I can, and with the income that we have, it's tough. Everything's going up in cost. Gas is up. Food is up. My medication is off the charts. It's about $800 a month. It's ridiculous. So I have to decide if I'm taking medication or if I'm going to eat or.
So was the water heater leaking? Is that what the problem was?
Yeah, the bottom dropped.
Yep.
And it was leaking.
Well, I tried to get it replaced a year ago when I had the maintenance program, and I figured
Oh,
I'm
my
spending all this
basement
money on the maintenance program, and I'm not getting anything out of it, I figured, oh, well, if I need to do something, I'll just do it then, so to save money. And of course, right after it happened, the water heater started leaking. So now it's left on my shoulders to take care of. But we were able to do it. It took us 2 months to save up the money to get the water heater. And then we went tankless. We're supposed to get a rebate of $500 from the gas company once it's installed. So it's a good benefit of it. We're trying to do everything right. We're really trying to do it right. And the thing is, too, is the shut-off. They shut us off a week and a half later. Week and a half later, we received a letter that said, if we don't get this bill caught up, we will be suspended.
Shut off.
We'll be shut off. And I figured, isn't it supposed to be the other way around? I've been kind of in contact with them. I thought it was really ironic that the letter came a week and a half after the water was shut off. And in that time, I was in desperate need. I turned it on. We used the water for a day. I shut it off. I came up to the office. I felt guilty about it. I told them that I did it. I wasn't trying to do anything wrong. It was all of a sudden.
Talked with an investigator.
Yep, the investigator came out. I talked with him, let him know, showed him what our plan was until we get water back on. But I was trying to see if we could get water back on at that time, and then worry about numbers when we came today. I mean,
You have it fixed though currently.
what's that?
You have the water heater fixed now.
It's in process of going up. It's just got to be bolted on the boards that I put in place, because it's tankless, and put the exhaust, hook up the gas.
Suck the lines up and it's good to go.
Right. But I just don't know why we couldn't have had the water on and then came today and argued about the numbers. You know what I mean? We could have figured out something. After paying that much money, add a little bit to each month, make it $200 a month thereafter. No, they want $2,000+ to turn it back on. I don't have it, so either we have to drill a hole and make my own well or something. I don't know. I mean, really, I have to be realistic about it. But we got to work together. You know.
Agreed. What do you got, Ms. Wood?
Okay, so what I have, and I've had discussions with the Public Services Director, but it really does more involve our utility billing and Mr. Becker, who's our finance director, who have put and gathered information together. So starting, I know that they've had notices, and I have copies of notices in the past of being on the shut-off list. But how it pertains to this right here is in September of 2021, so of last year, they were notified that they had a potential leak. They were on the exceptions list, so that means that they were using at least a gallon of water per hour over a 24-hour period. So it kind of triggers a signal in the software that says something's going on, because nobody would be using water for 24 hours straight. My notes say that in their account that they were posted on their door that they may have a potential leak as of that month or following that month, and continued to be on the exceptions list and receiving monthly door postings up until July of this year. So approximately 8 months at least of notifications going to them. Their water was turned off on July 25th by Public Works for non-payment by directive of Utility Billing Department. And it was discovered that water was turned back on due to the taking water without authority. The Public Works went out and shut it off again. These charges for the shut off and unauthorized turning on and shutting back off haven't been charged to the account yet, but that's in your memo as a fee to become due. The police department was notified, and there was a police report filed because it's against city code to take water without authority and to tamper with any of the city shut-off valves. So while we do understand that there was a leak that they had, and that is an expense, it is on the homeowner to make necessary repairs, or the fees do keep occurring. They weren't shut off in the wintertime because we don't shut people off in the wintertime. That's why it kept on accumulating, and they weren't shut off earlier.
We had, go ahead. With the water usage over the winter months, we had family that moved back home. We had 13 people at the house. So there was water usage. And the leak, I didn't notice anything. We had some dribble on the floor, but until, spring and stuff is when it's kind of let loose when I do the flush, and then everything kind of hit the bottom, and that's when it came out. But still, I think the fees are extravagant. I'll pay for the water I used. I have no problem with that. I mean, it's no different than running the pool, running the big sprinkler that we have with the kids play. It's not a huge difference in the water usage that we had as far as dollars and cents. And I did come up and I did admit that I turned the water back on and back off. So they didn't have to do anything. It was already off.
Do we notify people those fees that we talk about with
To turn off it.
turning the water on and off, unauthorized and that type of thing? Is there a notice on that? Or?
They do mention it as a customer. They do mention that there is a reinstatement fee.
Yeah, it does say in the notice that Councilmember Burgley, it does say in the notice that they receive, payment will include account balance and all disconnect, reconnect charges and return check fees if those are applicable. Those fees are within our fee schedule. That goes on that water shut-off notice that gets provided to them. I will say, though, one thing that they are being charged on, as that leak has occurred through winter months, and the sewer rates are calculated on an average sewer or average monthly rate during the winter months, because typically people use less water, so they're getting an advantage. Because their leak was occurring over the winter months, they are paying sewer charges on a higher average, because those months of January, February, March are calculating when they had a leak. So just for council to be aware of that as well.
So there was no actual actual proof of a leak over the winter, maybe drips, but a lot of the water usage was the family. We had 13 people there. I mean, it was bathroom flushing. It was constantly being used, so that was more of the water usage over the winter months. So I'd hope that we could go this winter to get averaged out so that my bill isn't outrageous to pay each month, if we could do that to recalculate. Because I know it's gonna be a lot different this coming winter.
And staff is making assumptions on when there was a leak. What we notice is that there is an increase of water usage considerably. So we look at just the monthly average of water. They maybe had a dozen people living with them, and we, so maybe they did actually have usage. Giving the benefit of the doubt, I would assume that they're having a leak because there's so much increased usage. And I can see the monthly rate, usage by gallons, throughout the last, I got 12 months in front of me. And it just jumped, it doubled in 1 month.
What was the month that you noticed first? September?
So on
You said
billing cycle
2021,
of
but
October, so, let's see. In September, so September 30th of 2021, their water usage was, I'm gonna round, 8,600 gallons. The following month of October, it went to 15,000 gallons, then to 39,000, then to 48,000, and it continued at about that 48, high 40,000 gallons after that.
I don't know how it's possible.
So that's what triggered that higher usage than what they had had before, that there could have been something going on.
That basement should have been flooded.
And it's just a
So-
courtesy
so
that the city
so you're saying
offers.
there is a leak, or there's not a leak, or?
We don't know if it was a leak, but it's just a
he's saying it
courtesy,
was the
it's
water
potential.
heater. What I'm afraid of, and I hope and pray to God it doesn't happen, let's knock on wood, it's gonna be more than the water heater. That much water is crazy.
Well, we had the yard sink down before in the front yard, and I had the city come out and look, and he said, oh, it's your problem because it's more than 10 feet off the street. So there might be a facility problem underground that could be causing some of the water. I have no idea. The grass is greener in one spot, and everyone else is brown and burnt, but what does that mean?
So you didn't water grass last year, is that what you're saying?
I don't water the grass.
I don't water my grass.
The kids
I'm
come over,
cheap.
the kids come over and play, and they do in the pool and the sprinklers, stuff like that, run a pressure washer, that's enough water used. You know, if you want water the grass, go to the beach, and, you know what I mean? It's too expensive, it really is. I'd rather be able to cook and clean and,
For all we know, it could be leaking from the curb to the house.
So what are you looking for us to do here? Do you have
there's
a
no,
solution?
well, the solution that I would like is, I don't think that it's fair that on top of everything, to pay $650 for the water usage. I mean, I'll pay for the water that was used, I have no problem with that, but the $650, I can't afford it, so it's just not gonna happen. I can't pull it out of the sky. I can't, I gotta
Water-
eat.
Yeah, the water used though is calculated by water meter.
Right, but $650 just for a leak, and then you go with the water usage on top of it. So now we're at $1,000. I don't have it. I gave the $1,000 that I had, and I got $2,000 to get what was passed or whatever paid up in full. And I was hoping to negotiate something to have the water on until we came in here tonight, and that wasn't satisfactory. I've given all I can. You know, I was honest about everything. I wasn't trying to be secretive or deceiving. You know, I came up here and I said, this is what I did. I turned it back off. I'm sorry. I knew it was wrong.
So is that what you got figured out, $650 of leakage?
So I couldn't quite hear the number. I'm not sure where that
He's
number,
saying he has $650 worth of leakage.
$650
Just
worth
for
of
the
leak?
leak. The leak
Just
fee.
for the
Just
leaking.
for the leak, yeah.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with water
That's
usage.
what we were told by Tabitha.
Yep, it's just, you got a leak, oh, it's 650. You didn't even come in to see if there's a leak, and you're charging me 650 twice. You have no idea.
So whose job is it?
I mean, there's not a definitive way for staff to be able to say exactly how many gallons was a leak, because nothing's plumbed separately through a meter. So there can be assumptions made based upon what you used prior to when we got notified of a leak, and make an assumption based upon before and after. I think the biggest thing is those sewer rates, just for example, roughly are around $45 per month in what they're being charged. But once that new average came in of when we speculate that there was a potential leak happening, within 1 month time frame, that new average kicks in, and effective in April billing cycle, it went from $45, and I'm again rounding, to $400 per month in sewer rate
What?
because of that. When you look at the breakdown, because we have
Just leave
water
it off. I'm
usage and we
gonna
have
sample
sewer
it.
usage. Sewer is based upon the amount of water used. So again, Tabitha could have calculated some average numbers before and after looking at it, but we would not really know how much. Just like when we did a meter history to try to determine how much water usage, because it was important for our PD to, we thought if we were going to charge this, how many gallons he took unauthorized. Again, we can make an assumption, but we cannot be 100% on that, and we have an approximate number on that.
Do you have any thoughts based on, I mean, you've worked with this more than anybody else. Do you have any thoughts on what we can do for these people? I mean, are you just,
That amount of gallons, I mean, that leak, that's a big leak.
oh, I don't
I
doubt
used to
that.
have irrigation, I'd run it every other day, and I think the most in the hot summer, 8,000 some gallons.
Yeah,
With
there's
a house
barely,
with 5 people plus running irrigation.
something's wrong
We
there.
were posting notices.
Because we only had like a 2.5 inch,
40,000 gallons,
2.5 inch
that's-
stream to the drain.
Well, you might have.
For 8 months.
You might have a leak somewhere else.
If they blew off. I
That would
mean,
be
we can't
outside in the
control
ground. It's nothing
but
that I
we
have
do
control of.
post. Yep.
You know, I don't have control of that.
Did you get the notices on the door and stuff, or?
Yeah, I got
Yes,
2 of
I
them.
actually came and talked to,
Tabitha, Anna.
no,
and-
to Ann.
and
Anna?
Is
then,
that who it is right up front here? I talked with Ann,
Anna,
and I
yeah.
told her that after, I think it was the second or third notice I had finally seen, because I do work. I only work part-time. And so that's when I went down and noticed we had a little bit of a leak. And I told her I noticed it, but I could not fix it right now. I said, financially, I can't replace this and fix this. Because he's disabled, I work part-time, I just lost one of my clients, so my hours have dropped even more. And I'm trying to do everything. I reached out to Lakes and Pines to see if they could help again. They said they were done. I went to the county, they gave me a denial letter. I went to Salvation Army right when all this happened to being shut off. They just got back to me last Friday, filled everything out for her, sent it in, still have not got an answer.
We talked to a lady
So I've
friend.
been going everywhere that's been given to me, reaching and grasping for help.
Yeah.
Because I am the main sole provider of the house.
I mean, when we're looking at those numbers, so you can tell that there's a usage 24 hours a day, you know, there's something on the meter that gives a warning for that, right? So, I mean, do we know like what the usage is per hour throughout the day on, I mean, is that something that we can get off of
We
the-
do have, I didn't
'cause that
print
would
them
tell
off.
us if there was just a leak, because I mean, it sounds like they had a lot of people there and they're using a lot of water anyway, but if there was, you know, like 2 in the morning, there's probably not a lot of people taking showers, or I don't know what your schedule is, but, you know, that
Whenever
maybe
you can
would
get
tell
in.
I'm
us,
sleeping.
Whenever,
that could maybe tell us
Get
what
your
the
turn.
leak, you know, what the leak actually was versus.
I do have, I didn't print them off, but when we pulled the meter history, we do have bar graphs that show per day the water usage, and it's, you know, what we can tell is that around that, on that, well, I can't turn it, on this date, roughly, so I don't have well, I suppose I could really zoom in maybe, but like it shows me on Friday, September 24th, usage like this. Tuesday, October 12th is still like that. And then roughly right after there, so give or take, within 3-4 days or so, it spikes. So
We don't see like an hourly breakdown necessarily on that at all.
let me see.
technology's coming soon.
No, whether the software can calculate that, I don't know if it can or not. If it would have, it's possible she would have sent that to me, but I don't have. I just have breakdowns on days.
So what are we saying right now? Just, have you been telling these people that the bill right now is the bill? Is that what we're saying?
Well, they're saying that $2,574.33 is what their current charges are owed on their account.
And look what we,
He's saying he'll pay water usage, I mean, that would be roughly $1,200, but that's leaving $1,374.33 to do what with?
No, I know, I was wondering where they were at, the staff, so.
You know, it's,
Councilmember, it's really hard to determine. We don't typically see this. Usually, the courtesy of giving people the notices that you have leaks, people do make some actions because they do get those high costs. The bill keeps on going up, going up, going up.
But the bill-
And just like if you have a non-sufficient fund check, you get a fee towards it. It's the person making the payments responsibility, make sure that they have funds there. There are just fees that incur. And I do think that that's what happened here, is action wasn't taken to repair the leak, and I understand that there was financial struggles that's prohibited them from doing that.
I'm afraid it's more in that water heater with usage like that, though. I mean, if it's that
I
high.
don't know how we would know. I can only recall one other instance where we had a business off of the industrial park that had a massive, massive irrigation leak, and so it just wasn't found for a very long time. But otherwise, I can't recall an instance to share with you that here's what we did before, here's course of action, because,
Well, I'm not looking for that, I'm looking
oh,
at exactly what's your intention with this, or what's whoever's in charge of water bills.
so the city is planning to do, unless council gives a different direction, is fees incurred on your billing account is owed by the homeowner. You will be, you're charged with those, and the amount currently right now on the balance on the account is $2,574.33. That's not including the turn off and turn on fees, because we did not apply those yet, because we had PD doing some work on this case. And then also, another thing to add into this, there could be fees incurred with tampering with the curb stop, the shut-off valve. We do have to make an assessment, we haven't done that yet, to determine that any extensions that were used by the homeowner to turn the water on and off didn't damage anything. We have to vet that out. So that's why I don't know if there's a cost there, because we don't know currently if there's damage on it. But that's something that will have to be done in the very short future here. But if the homeowner doesn't pay, it does get assessed to their taxes, and the city recoups the funds, as that's what our policy is.
Thank you.
Well, it's a very expensive world to live in, and I can't go on assumptions. Every dollar, every penny, every nickel counts in my household. The water usage is one thing to pay for. I just don't understand the $650 to be added on. I've never heard of it, never seen it written anywhere. All of a sudden, there it is.
What is the $650 he's referring to?
Unfortunately, I don't know.
It's per month or per 2 weeks
Tabitha didn't
or
share
per
that
week?
with me. I'm not sure.
It's like Monopoly, you get fined $650 just because you have a leak. Oh, no, you gotta pay per gallon.
Do you have one of
It
those
came from
bills with you?
Huh?
Do you have one of those $650 bills with you?
It's added into this,
No,
$2,500.
Tabitha just said it over the phone to us.
And it was like, what?
Oh, so you haven't actually received a bill that says you need to add another $600?
No, but it's in, we already paid
Oh.
up to $2,000. Now we owe $2,500 more. I mean, think about it, every 2 weeks, $650, there's 1,300. It adds up really fast.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have a leak fee, though, that you know of, right? I mean, that's,
We don't have a leak fee, no.
Yeah, I mean,
It, don't,
I'm curious in what $650 then is.
you could fill up a pool and say, yeah, I had a leak.
yeah, right.
I left my sprinkler on for
so
4 days
you
once, and I
can't
went out of town, and I didn't get no
prove
leak
that.
notice. I
Charge
forgot about it in the
for
backyard.
leak, yeah.
I mean, it's minimal. And when she says that each month it got worse, the stream of water hasn't changed. As a matter of fact, with the valves being off, we turned the valves off for a day or two and then turned it back on. It was like it started to seal itself. So, I mean, it was getting less and less. But I knew that would be a buildup and it would eventually blow, so I had to replace it no matter what. So this just is surreal. Really is. The water looks less, but the bill is higher. I don't know. I mean,
I can make
One-
payments, but I cannot pay it all in full.
well, they
right
can assess
now.
it to the taxes because I can't afford it. We just can't. We bought a water heater that set us back a month. We gotta pay the house. If we don't pay the house, the water bill don't matter. It's that simple. You know, and if things around here are that expensive, I can't afford it. I'm gonna have to sell and move.
one thing I will
Well,
say,
I mean, we all pay the same.
I know we do, except for that $650. That's a new thing I never heard of. That just kind of pushed me over. It's like, you know, I was honest about the shut-off stuff and turning it back on.
I mean, even if you took out the $650, that's still $1,900.
Yeah, isn't it
You
billed
know, I
twice?
don't understand what 650 is for.
And, yeah, none of us are understanding that, even city staff.
That's just something you heard over the phone?
Right, but if you think of what we paid, I mean, I didn't owe $5,000 when it started, when I had to pay, you know what I mean? So it was all paid to a zero balance, now I owe this again. I can't do it. I cannot do it all at once. My income, I'll have to decide, do I want the house or do I want to pay the water bill? And if I don't pay the house, the water bill is null and void. So I don't know what to do. I'm asking for help. What can we do to work together? Can we assess it to the taxes? Can we add a little bit to each month for, you know, my normal billing?
Mayor, if I may interrupt. So we did reach out to staff, and we were able to get a response from her, and she said the 650 amount was, at one point in time, that was their delinquent amount, but that's not currently what it's at. Now it's up to 2,500 and some rounding. So at one point that was. But
Okay, now I'm confused. Sorry.
if council was looking for, well, what could we do if we could do anything? Because I do think that we owe it to the rest of the residents to be fair. If you had water usage, you need to pay your water usage. If you have a leak, it's your responsibility to not have a leak. And I think that other people have had leaky toilets, and it does add up very, very quickly. It's why we put articles in the ICNTN. Do check and take it seriously, because you would not believe hundreds and hundreds of gallons that can go through in a tiny little drip. But as I mentioned earlier, their sewer average was calculated in those rates prior to when they had what we believe it was a leak. Sounds like they also agree was a leak, not just people using it. That amount got recalculated with a higher amount just recently. So for the last 4 months, instead of paying approximately $50 a month in sewer charges, they were paying $300 to $400. If you did calculate the average differently, that would be a considerable savings, but you know that that would be a council decision if you wanted to do that. But then they still are paying for what they use for water. I do believe that they should pay for charges of the shut off and the turn on for every time that they did that, plus any charges that are going to be incurred due to damages done of taking water, if there are any, because that's fair to other residents.
So what was their water usage? Let me ask, what's that amount?
So I haven't added that up, but what I did is I added up the sewer for the charges for the last 4 months, which are the higher months. I'll give you the numbers. It's $303.69. This is working backwards from July back. June billing was $416.11. May was the same, $416.11. April was $400.02. Okay, so those are when those higher averages were calculated. That amount comes to $1,535.93.
Is that in addition to that $2,500?
No,
Or
this
it's
is
part
what
of the-
makes
that's
up,
part of the $2,500?
this is part of it, yep. These are gallon numbers, these are not dollars, these are gallons.
Oh, those are gallons.
Or wait,
And this is just the sewer, correct? Sewer
no.
usage? It's just the sewer usage?
So the numbers you just gave are gallon numbers, they're not dollar numbers.
right.
I guess what I'm interested to know is, what do they owe for water usage? What is that dollar amount?
I just want to have a second set of eyes, yes, these are dollars, she's got dollar signs by them.
So those numbers were dollars that you just,
So I guess my question is, when you got that first water bill, it was extraordinarily high. It didn't, you guys didn't question it? You just,
Well, there's a lot of people at the house, you know what I mean, at that point, when the bills started going up. So they moved out in the spring, which was a godsend, and I figured we'd just pay it down and, you know, be done with it.
Ms. Woods, did you say
Didn't notice that
he
there was a
could have
big
this
leak,
assessed to his
like-
taxes?
The number
Well,
doesn't
he
say,
would.
just-
If they don't pay their water bill, yes, it does get assessed to their taxes, but they are shut off.
Oh, okay.
So are them numbers you just gave dollar amounts or gallon amounts?
She's gonna do a double check, make sure.
So she said you could have it assessed to your taxes. I think you asked that question.
Yes.
but it doesn't help.
But it
No, I-
doesn't turn us back on.
No, I get that. I
I
heard
mean, I'm
that.
fine doing some kind of a payment arrangement, but I mean,
I'm
if we-
okay with that too.
That part I'm certainly fine
Will we
with.
do like
but-
half the taxes, half of payments, get the water turned back on? I mean, you're gonna get all the money, it just, you have more than I do.
Yes, those are dollar amounts of sewer charges, which again is based upon their water usage.
So
and
that's
at that higher rate.
1535.93 is
Yep.
what I'm calculating.
If they were calculated at just for sewer charges off the other average prior to having the leak, that would be $45.21 per month, and being at 4 months, it's $180.84 they would have paid on sewer instead of the $1,535.93.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And we have done payment plans for people. I mean, there have been residents that have not been able to pay their utility bills. We have entered into agreements before, and they pay a monthly rate. We do have a form. There's a calculation that goes into that. and we do work with people on that.
Can I get some kind of break on the sewer charge? I mean, less than $200 or almost $1,600. I mean, that's a gap I can't fill. I just,
I'd be all right with, having you work with the city staff on a payment.
I mean, it's just, it was assumption, you know, it's assumption of a leak. We didn't know, they didn't know for sure. It's like,
I mean,
I'm
we're
the
still,
one proving it. I'm proving it. I'm giving you all the information, being honest.
I mean, to be honest with you, we're still assuming. I mean, you're fixing a water heater, but,
I don't know if there's something somewhere.
yeah, what are you gonna do if there's
I don't-
something else?
How would I know? I
If
don't,
it's
Does your
outskirts
water,
of the house,
your
maybe.
water usage,
yeah, if it's
Well,
outside
should
though, I
tell
don't
you.
know how.
I mean.
But it's metered at the house though. That's what's weird.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be under.
Water, yeah.
it wouldn't
your
be
water usage would tell you.
Line coming in,
Yeah, the meter's
from
there,
the
so it's
first
not
one.
under the ground. It wouldn't be underground then, because the meter's reading it after it comes in the house. There's-
but the water's gonna keep flowing.
Right.
You know, so.
And usually the only water we see flowing is when the AC puts off the condensers, moisture. I don't see anything else anywhere, except for this. But like I said, we had a stream that was about, I don't know, 2-3 inches wide. It went from there to the drain, which is 3 feet away. That was it.
I think water usage should be paid for, as Ms. Wood said. I think the fees that, I mean, I know your conscience got to you and you came and said something that you turned it back on. I mean, playing devil's advocate, the city would have never known that. I wish there was a way we could catch if somebody did that, other than him being truthful.
I could have turned it on and off. You'd have never known.
That's what
Well,
I
yeah, they
mean.
would have got the gallon reading. The gallon reading would have showed it.
We'd see his
We
meter
do.
start moving again, but,
When we did it, if we suspect that someone's tampering with a water shut-off meter, anything, we do a meter history, and those water gallons do not lie. So if the water was supposed to be off,
when they started rising again, then we'd know.
it would have 0 usage. And when we see usage, but the water was off on our account, we know that they used water and they shouldn't have
Okay.
used water.
I came up here and said something, so it wasn't a guess. You know, they came out to make sure it was off, it's fine. But the other thing too is they had somebody come out and they read the meter on the outside of the house. That meter's been obsolete, not hooked up for I don't know how long, so if numbers on that were any part of this, I would ask that be taken off, because those numbers are null and void. It's just the meter that's on the water line itself now that's being read, from what I understand.
Pull water, I didn't hear everything that the gentleman said, but to pull water meter history, we do have to attach to the water meter and go inside the house with the meters that we currently have.
Right.
New meters will be different, but
I was told that someone came out to read the one on the outside of the house, and I'm saying that hasn't been hooked up for a long time. They unhooked it in the house, and they just left it there, and they put the new one on.
we don't have any water meters on the outside of the house. There's nothing to read on the outside of the house.
What they do is what they'll do is they'll pull up on the street and read it. from
Yeah,
the
the
computer.
new one, yes, but the old one is still on the building itself.
Yeah, that old one's obsolete.
Right, but I was told Tabitha had someone come out and read that meter, and I said, it's for what? The numbers that are on there are, I don't know, 10 years old?
Somebody came out and read your meter by sitting in a car, and they got this thing they
remote.
point out with a cone, and that's how they read it.
right.
That's what she means by somebody came out and read the meter.
Okay,
Was she just pointed this thing at your house,
okay.
got your reading in the vehicle, and
I
they
just wanted
drove
to make
on?
sure, because I still have the old meter out there, so I
Yeah,
just want those
it's
numbers.
obsolete. We don't read those.
So the best thing to do here is set up a payment plan with whoever. Who do you have set up a payment plan? Is it
They
Tabitha?
do that with City Hall staff. It'll typically be Mr. Becker. He's out this week, so another staff will be able to.
So, my question though is for you to pay your water usage and for the charges of the water being turned without authority and the meter reading and the public works time and the cost of curbside repair due to tampering with that shut-off valve, which it says to be determined. I mean, that's $350 in fees right there alone, plus your water usage. Do you have any argument there?
I'm not arguing, I came in, I admitted it, whatever
Okay.
was wrong, whatever
So,
you're willing to do.
if this council, facetiously speaking, said, okay, we understand you're gonna pay your water usage, you're gonna pay those fees, we'll set up a payment plan for you. I guess the only thing that I would tell you is communication is a virtue. If anything comes awry, I would expect you to communicate, but the minute you start ignoring us, I would probably be the first one to say, go shut off his water.
It's fair. I mean, I came up here, you know, it was a Friday, I turned it on, turned it off Saturday, Monday morning, I came up here and I said, this is what I did. So, I mean, it was no surprise, so I tried to just what I did wrong.
Which I can appreciate that, absolutely. My conscience eats at me for a lot of things.
You know, now with that said, and paying the fee for that, does there have to be any charge, or can I just pay the fee, and we just, give me a break on that?
On what?
Legal charges or anything with the shut-off?
Because you tampered with that you admitted tampering with it, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson, just before you respond on that, I'd like to add in, Chief Myers and myself to speak, and I'll let him speak on behalf of what their department did. But it does come down to either they get charged criminally or they get some fees.
I think I'd
the
pay the
choice is
fees.
I'm
between-
asking for the fees. I'm asking for the fees.
The choice is, that's the,
I think I'd pay the fees. I wouldn't even want to meet the police chief unless I had to.
All right, you know, I mean,
He's a nice guy.
He is a nice guy, but I still wouldn't want to meet
We've
him.
met him, he's nice.
yeah, I used to volunteer with Ron Sager a lot when he was chief.
Uh,
I just
What are
don't
your
wanna have-
gentlemen's thoughts here?
Well, I already expressed my thoughts, set up a payment plan with the staff. I mean, the staff sounds like they have done it before. I would just deal with the staff on this.
What are you thinking on the sewer charges?
yeah.
Well, isn't that the,
That's homeowners.
I mean, if we don't do it, didn't you say that would be criminally? It would-
No.
No.
That's tampering with the water meters criminally.
Okay.
If you had a high water bill 2-3 months in a row, I'd start investigating after the first water bill that was like outrageously
Yeah, we
big.
expected the first one to be high with
You know,
other people.
questioned it.
I agree, you know, after that, then we did.
I would continue just.
Even if you expected the first one to be high, you got that second one.
That's when we started, then we got a
That would
tag.
shell shock me, and I would be in here talking to somebody, and then the third one, what is going on here? I
Well,
think
yeah,
I,
we did, we came in, because we were like, we couldn't find a leak at that time. You know, a couple of drips was all I seen, I didn't really consider that a leak, because you get moisture and condensation buildup, so I thought that's what it was, so I put the foam on the pipes, it eliminated that, and then now it got greater, but not as bad as 15,000 from whatever it was.
it's a lot of gallons.
That's just, I don't know how, it didn't get worse each month, the leak stayed exactly the same, it's confusing to me.
There was maybe another leak other than that. Ronnie, you'd be surprised.
I'm gonna-
Wyatt,
When I get this
Running
done, I'm gonna
oil
pressure test the
across.
system, and we'll just see what happens.
That's my fear. My fingers are crossed that that's not the case, but that's my fear, is it's gonna be something more than that water heater.
Yeah, there's no water anywhere else, because the floors would be, you know what I mean?
Said your
So-
grass is a little greener, though, than one spot than
Well, here's
most.
the thing, though,
Right
is
in the front yard.
it wouldn't be metered.
Could be
These
a leak.
gallons wouldn't be measured if it was underground. They're measured after they come through the floor.
That is true.
How would I find the leak out in the yard? I'm not
The
ripping
yard
it
sinks
up.
down, the yard sinks down 6 feet, that's how. It was built in the winter, so there must have been an air pocket. But I would ask, I have no problem paying the fees, whatever the fees are gonna be, however nice you can be, not too harsh, hopefully, but can we do a payment plan for half of it and the other half assessed
You'd have to
taxes?
discuss that with Mr. Becker if that's what this council chose to do.
I think the staff would be reasonable with you. They'll set up a payment plan you can afford. That's fair to say, isn't it? Elizabeth?
So just so I'm clear, and so when we would enter into a payment plan with people without even coming to council, but in terms of removing any of the charges or fees, I think from my standpoint, it comes down to basically one question. Do you want to give them their prior leak average for sewer charges? Or take the average that came about like it does normal in a normal cycle, and it jumped up? Do you want them to pay their sewer charges as is because they had the leak? Or do you want to give them, which would be deviating from city code, but at council's discretion to give them a different sewer rate average calculation?
We have to do that for everybody. We decided.
We'd have
I will say
8,000
that it does
residents in
open
here
the door
asking for that.
for other people, and the people who have had a leak and had also charges based upon it. I'm sure there are people who have paid. We'd have to look into that, but it also depends on when the leak happens. If a leak happened in the summertime, you don't see the impact on the sewer charges because the calculation was already done. It's because their leak was happening during the months that the leak was occurring. If that makes sense.
What is a higher calculation for the sewer rate from
I
that?
would just work with them with whatever their budget affords, you know? That's my feeling. I don't know if we need to reduce any fees. Of course we want to, but, you know.
And then moving forward, going the months rest, because those calculations follow through the rest of the year, they will be at that higher rate,
For months that I'm not,
which
don't
their
have the
leak will be at that time, we're assuming fixed. I don't know if that is what council is, you know, if you should consider that as well.
I would ask, in fairness and affordability, if we could go to the previous rate for sewer, because I'm gonna be paying the bill plus, payments toward the, whatever total we have for the first half, if that's what we can do. Like I said, I'm on a fixed income, and I have to decide if I'm gonna eat, or if I'm gonna buy medication, keep the lights on. It's been a struggle for me, and whatever we could do to work together. I didn't try to do anything wrong, I'm just in a real crappy situation. If I had money and was still working, I could have fixed this all within a week or two, we wouldn't be here today. Just, it is what it is, and trying to make the best of it, so whatever we can do, I'd appreciate it. I try to be a good citizen in the county, you know, helpful, volunteered before my illness and stuff, and I tried to do what's right.
I did before this would like to note that I did ask Tabitha if we could do a payment arrangement, and she told me, nope, I could come in front of all of you and get it figured out.
And that's what we're here for today.
And that's why we're here today.
Mhm.
Because I did ask for a payment arrangement and I got told no.
At that time, yeah.
Well, now we're being told yes, right? I mean,
In interest of fairness, Tabitha can't make that call. She did the right thing. She can't make that call.
I'm just letting.
These
you know
guys make that call.
That's why we are here.
Yeah, I just get with the city staff and arrange it, figure out a payment schedule.
What are we gonna do on her rates, though? Before the leak or after the leak? I think that's what Josie's looking for.
Whatever is owed right now, payment plan on.
we
Right,
don't
but
know if that leak's been fixed, right? So,
what are we gonna do
Well, there is
for
no-
before or after the leak costs?
Yeah, there is no leak now, it's turned off.
oh, there's no leak. in the
Water's-
leak.
Well, the water's off,
Water's off, the lines are open and new
but
tanks
that
going.
hot water heater is disconnected.
Yeah, it's off,
So even if the
Sewer-
water went
sewer
back
rate
on
will
right
stay
now,
At this current average for.
and we're going
till the end
green,
of
if
the
that
year.
means anything.
Correct, unless we calculate or go off the previous,
Non-leakage rate,
what we assume is non-leakage, yes, it would continue.
we
Because
would
that's
have
just the
to-
way that the billing cycle works.
we would have
is-
to do that for 8,000 residents.
I will say, though, that there is a mechanism and the ability to go gallon for gallon. Typically, people don't do gallon for gallon, so it means whatever you paid for 1 gallon of water, you pay for 1 gallon of sewer. They take the average because you're using, I would say 99.9% time less water in the winter than you are in the summer. But we can do gallon for gallon, or the other option is to use their previous rate if council so chose.
You're saying going forward, we could do gallon for gallon,
Could do gallon for gallon until they get their next average.
which would normally be more expensive than.
Normally it would be, but
than
not
the
in this
average,
case.
But not in this case.
Correct.
I would be okay with that.
I'd be okay with that, too.
Yeah. Are you okay with what they did?
We do the gallon for gallon versus that rate. It's gonna be cheaper.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be cheaper. I was hoping it would go to the other rate, just because how expensive it's gonna be for me, but whatever you can do to work with me.
We would have to do that with hundreds of people that have come in here with leaks.
Yeah, as long as their leak wasn't over the months that mine were. It's kind of a.
We've had worse. We've had worse.
Yeah. Whatever we can
Did
do.
we answer all your questions?
I'll just recap, just to make sure we're clear. They are still being, they still need to owe what their account is past due. Any of the charges that are coming due that we have not put onto that as listed in your memo, staff will work with them on a payment plan, so they're able to get their water turned back on, but be making regular payments. And we will calculate their sewer charges going forward until they get their new monthly, or their new average cycle for gallon, and we can revisit it if it didn't end up being cheaper. But if the leak is fixed, it should be good. The only thing I will say is, if they get on a payment plan and the check has non-sufficient funds, we will start this process all over again, and they will get posted for insufficient payment. They may get their
I
water
will
turned
come in
off.
with cash.
I just want to let everyone be aware. If
We're gonna
they're-
cross that road
We'll
before
start
we cross
again.
that road.
Yes.
Only because my bank account has been hacked, so I'll do cash.
Yeah, it's a mess. Everything at once.
We've had a lot just going,
Yeah, all from my phone being sold. It was a wrap. So we lost lots of money. we'll get it back, but it'll take a while. I would ask the council if we're getting the stuff turned back on, as we start a payment plan with whatever total, and can we take 50% of what the grand total is to be assessed to the taxes so I can afford to live a little each month? You know, like take the total bill, half payment plan, and then the other half assessed to taxes, and it'll, by the time everything's paid off, it's gonna meet with my payment plan.
Chelsea's saying yes.
Okay. So we can get the water turned back on faster.
We would
and
work with
then-
them on that, yes.
and then, what is the current charges with the first installment of a payment plan? I'd like to know to get the water turned back on. How soon can we do that?
Mr. Becker would be the one to,
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to provide that information
our
today.
finance director would be that guy. He is a number genius, so he would be that guy. I would entertain you to come and talk to Mr. Becker if you could first thing in the morning. Is he here tomorrow?
He's out all week this week, so I'll work with Pam, who's our assistant finance director, and we'll get the ball rolling so we can
I'm
get
so
the water
you
turned
focused
back
on Josie, I forgot Pam was sitting there. I'm sorry, Pam.
So we'll work on it tomorrow and have an answer so they know when water can be turned on and what that first payment will be. We may need to recalculate once Mr.
So
Becker
tomorrow
comes back,
afternoon,
but-
is that safe to say, Pam? Tomorrow afternoon, Pam is your gal.
Come up
Come
here.
and talk to her.
Okay, what time?
1 o'clock?
What time?
Let's do
1
two-
o'clock tomorrow.
Let's do
Okay.
2 o'clock. Sorry, Mayor.
o'clock
Let's do
tomorrow.
2 o'clock because I have a meeting.
We have
so-
3?
2
11?
o'clock tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay,
Come up and talk to Pam and
okay,
we'll get this straightened out.
perfect.
all right, thank you, thank you.
We appreciate it.
Okay, let's move on to E2, a agenda request. Holy Hannah. I can't pronounce that either. Tapico's Latinos Restaurant. I'm assuming that's you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm just going to help with a little background for this one. First, we've met with the applicant. They're currently working on moving into the Little North Boutique building to open up their restaurant, and we're very excited about that. Right now, they are working on building their kitchen, and there's some delays with the hood being delivered in time. As we know, all things have been kind of pushed off, and that's one of the things that they're having an issue with. Their rent, I believe, starts September 1st, and so their goal is to start serving food as soon as they can, obviously, as this is a new business venture for them. And they would like to have a food truck or use a food truck as their kitchen while they're building out the kitchen. That food truck would have to follow all food truck mobile food unit guidelines as required by the city and the Minnesota Department of Health, and they would serve people within their restaurant. So customers would show up at the front counter like you would in any normal restaurant, but their food would be made outside the back door in the food truck and then served to them inside the restaurant. And so that is their request. It would park behind the back door, which you can see on the map within the memo that Ryan put together, and will allow for a 12-foot space. We did have Al, the fire chief, did approve this and said it was okay for temporary usage. They're also requesting possibly for using over 6 months. Right now, our ordinance states that a mobile food unit can be parked in one place for 6 months. And staff is recommending that we allow that since they are working towards putting together their permanent location here in the city, and it's not like a normal food unit. We'll still be getting tax base off of them, off of their location.
Well, this
So-
seems all pretty cut and dry. I don't even know what,
Well, it is just outside of a normal realm of what we allow, so there are some exceptions that we just don't wanna, we can't make the decision on. So we had them ask you first before we move forward with their site plan.
Sounds like they got everything done correctly.
Fire chief's good with it?
yeah, that was my main concern, was the fire chief. He's okay with it, so, the
You
6
said
month,
The Department of Health is on board, so.
yeah, how long is it gonna take to get the hood in? I bet they haven't even mentioned it. They don't even know. No, I'm saying I bet whoever's bringing the hood doesn't even
Yeah,
know.
it could be shorter.
Pretty vague and a date they're giving? Yes. So 6 months is our potential, but who knows how long she could be without proper.
Correct, and that's
But-
why we just thought if we're doing the site plan for this now, we would just grandfather it into an extended period of time.
I'm okay with it.
And we're all hoping, even they are, that it's much sooner.
Yeah, I'm okay with all
Why
this,
hold up
actually.
business because of
I'm not gonna hold up the
supply
business.
chains, right?
Anybody got any objections to this? Are we just okay with everything? And
I'm looking forward to eating there.
I am too. I'm wanting some Latino food right now. No
I'm-
objections?
I'm on
Sounds good to
board.
me, yeah, I don't have any problem with that. I guess I am curious, what is the rules that they would have to come and ask us, I guess, because it seems like they're following everything the way they're supposed to.
The
like
6-month rule.
Partial occupancy stuff and.
Yeah, the partial, we don't have any other restaurants that serve into there, so we just wanted to really clarify that for you guys, as well as the over 6 months. So we'll be coming back to request a variance for that.
I thought when we had done that ordinance, that it was 6 months and then they could extend. for
Renew
another
it.
6 months.
Or move.
Or move locations for another 6 months?
Which they were willing to do, but we just figured while
Why?
we're
Why
moving
should
forward
we-
with
they
this
shouldn't
site
have
plan,
to.
we might as well just.
Restaurant in North Branch with a similar concept, but theirs is more permanent.
I'm curious on which restaurant that is.
They have seating inside and a
No.
food truck that serves
It's
the
called the Fort in North Branch.
The Fork?
fort.
Oh, the Fort.
Yeah. So, if I can.
Yeah. I don't even know where this restaurant's at. I've never seen it.
At least you'd be able, firefighters would be able to go between the truck and the building.
Across the highway
And you don't want a fire
there where the
traveling from the food truck into the
Oh,
building,
yeah.
so
strip mall kind of back there
With
by
that
the liquor store. I think
What-
they're in that.
gap,
strip
I
mall
think.
sort of.
Aha.
Yeah, both,
Real visible spot.
both the building inspector and the fire chief will have to inspect the food truck prior to, and as well as the connection for outlets, like if they're using electric from the building
Yeah.
versus a generator, what the requirements will be. And we've discussed that with them, and they're aware that they'll need. Mhm. So.
She's okay with everything, though, that the city, the fire department, the building inspector, she's okay with everything they're asking?
So
Okay.
I see a major fire hazard with that, the way that is, but that's, that's their risk they're taking.
I saw
Well,
that
the fire
too,
chief
but,
Fire chief approved, I mean.
well, fire
No,
chief
but
approved
that's
this
that
one.
Yeah, right, not that
During-
one.
I wouldn't want to be that fire chief.
During this time also, they won't be using the service window to allow for more access for fire, is what we also discussed.
Okay.
So, they're,
I'm okay with all of this.
Sounds like you guys came up with a pretty good plan B.
When do you open?
Well, our landlady did push us back till October.
okay.
So, now she gave us a September as a grace period for rent.
Okay,
She had to push back until October.
She was probably waiting for building materials
Yeah.
herself.
Yep, she's
think so.
probably so October is when you're gonna open? Fingers crossed. We're good. Everything's good.
Good luck, guys.
Good luck,
Look forward to it.
and welcome to Isani.
thank you.
Let's move on to E3, liquor updates. Mr. Keith.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I've gave you some numbers here, and I'll just kind of briefly go over it, so I don't bore you too much. But to summarize, sales are up an average of 27% over COVID numbers from the last couple of years. 27% is over last year. That's an average. August isn't on this number, but we should finish around 30% up, 29%, 30% up for August too. We've had some really good months. We're maintaining the profit margin when we're where we want to. And I broke down the sales by category. Beers at 49%, liquors at 34%, wines at 11%. And we have our pop juice mix, tobacco and non-alcoholic as well. Our transaction count year-to-date is just under 100,000. We're seeing a lot of traffic in and out of the store. We really are capturing a lot of the traffic heading up north. If you guys are ever around the area around 4 o'clock on a Friday, just drive through the parking lot and see how many trailers are in the parking lot. People heading up, or even earlier. We've seen kind of an increase in sales on Thursdays too, with traffic heading north, which is kind of nice. So.
That's because if you're smart, you're going up north Thursday, taking
Yeah.
Friday off.
Yeah, and you're coming back Monday, not
Right.
Sunday. Yeah. Yep, the billboard on Highway 65 is back up. That's down by Cooper's Corner, about a quarter of a mile south of the Cooper's Corner Liquor. So I'm sure they love us, but, we've got a lot more to offer, and we're drawing that traffic. Still hopeful that we've got a billboard, I know we're still in talks to try and find something a little closer, to the corner and stuff. That would be huge as well. We're growing, and we're keep growing. This month, we're doing a MMBA community drive for the Isani Fire District, and that's going very good. I don't know if you guys saw a picture of the display that Al came over and built, but it's pretty cool. It gets a lot of attention, and it really kind of hammers home the fact that, as a municipal, we're community-oriented way more than what a private liquor store would be. And we also started doing a roundup feature at the register, so we're asking customers if they want to round up their purchase to donate to the cause, which is the fire department right now. And as of right before I came over here, we've raised over $1,171, just people donating 5 cents, 75 cents, at a time, just round up to their dollar. So that's really huge, and I'm kind of blown away by that. I didn't think it would take off like that. And that's in, I think, 11 days we've raised that.
How long are you doing that for?
That goes through September 11th.
11 days,
So-
$1,000 a day.
Yeah, that's, I think the average right now is $75 a day is what people are giving, and that's community members, citizens, wanna give back to the community too, and I personally get excited about stuff like that. Feedback from customers is still very positive. We continue to get a lot of reviews online, Google reviews. That my favorite part, I've mentioned this to you before, to all of you, that if they mention how great the customer service was or how friendly somebody is, that's what I look for. I continue to see a lot of comments about how great the service is, because honestly, anybody can have a big liquor store, but to have staff that is good and happy, that doesn't necessarily always happen. So I'm very grateful for that too.
I've only got a couple minor concerns from people. They would like to see, but my question was what I've heard is, can the walk-in cooler, some people are saying the beer's not super cold, really,
Yeah.
when they get stuff out of the walk-in cooler. So I don't know if that's a temperature setting, or if that maybe when they,
Maybe we're going
Walked in
through
there.
it so fast that it's,
well, that's what I'm thinking,
could-
and that's
could
what I
be.
responded with. I said,
Yeah.
well, I don't know when that beer was stacked in there. Might have been, that morning that a truck was there and was stacked, and not,
And that
Not-
does play a lot
so-
into it.
yeah.
Um,
And they understood that.
Yeah,
So-
and I appreciate the feedback. I mean, I'd hope that if any of you ever have any concerns, you can tell us.
They weren't upset. They were probably more curious than anything. If
Did they?
something that could be fixed.
So I will tell you that we've had some issues with the coolers. Being a new building, we've had to add refrigerant, we've had leaks, we've had, in my opinion, way too much stuff go wrong, but we've had SCR out there, St. Cloud Refrigeration out there to address the stuff right away.
Warranty,
too.
warranty.
Exactly, yeah, if it's gonna break now. But we can adjust the temperature down a little bit. I think right now it's set at like 36 degrees, right around there.
Yeah, I don't know, what's the typical setting? I mean, what was it at the old liquor store?
Right, it was that.
It was
Yeah.
that?
36?
I think a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
was,
it.
it was right around there, and we've got a.
Gotta be, we're going through it so much.
Yeah.
It's gotta
and-
be.
It's
And,
timing.
and sometimes too, what happens is on the days that we get our beer deliveries, you know, we have the plastic curtains to kind of help keep the hot, humid air out.
Yeah.
But when we have, say like Thursday mornings, we have, McDonald distributing there, and then they're there, you know, until noon. As soon as they're done, then Burnix shows up, and then they're there. So so those cooler doors are open constantly.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just coming in when that's open. But we do, you know, we do rotate stuff when we're filling it on weekends. We always make sure that the cold stuff's in front.
Mhm.
Because nobody likes warm beer. I mean,
No, no.
it's horrible.
Yeah.
But we'll make a bigger effort just to make sure that, you know, all that stuff's staying cold. The complaint I get is people complain about having to walk so far back there, but we just always tell them, now you don't have to buy the light beer. And that usually,
They can always grab a shopping cart.
there you go, yeah. Or they can do curbside.
Yeah.
You know, we'll bring it out to them, and we'll discuss this shortly about online sales, having the option to buy it online, and
And then you just pick it up.
so we're always looking for ways to improve. You know, like to think we're never treading water, but we're always heading somewhere. So. You guys have any other questions or concerns or anything for me?
Nope, the staff though, every time I come in there, the only person that knows me in there is Courtney.
Yeah,
So,
and they're still nice
but
to you?
yep, she's still nice to me. Yeah, they're always, I can't remember one time coming through the door that one of the staff members didn't say, hey, hi, welcome, or what, you know, whatever, how you doing?
Yeah, gross sales were at, I ran the numbers right before I came over, 3.4 million for the year. That's gross, that's not net, but, you know, last year we finished at 4.1 and we're at 3.4 this year, so I'm really hopeful that we'll hit 5.2 this year, and then just keep climbing, so.
So it sounds like moving to the east side of 65 was not a bad plan after all, huh?
Yep.
Imagine that. Anything else you got, Keith?
That's all I have unless you have any.
Are you still giving suckers out? I just want to know
We
that.
still have suckers,
All right.
yes, yep.
My kids love those suckers. I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good job as always, sir. We'll go to E4, the third-party payment service company discussion. I would bet this is for Pam.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. The city would like to have your direction on third-party payment service company. Currently, we use Payment Service Network. This allows the residents to make payments with credit cards in person, online, or over the phone for utility payments, and for miscellaneous payments like permits. Since incorporating Payment Service Network, the number of residents enrolled in our auto pay for utility payments is at 248. Residents frequently make one-time credit card payments via phone and in person at City Hall utilizing Payment Service Network. Convenience fees for each transaction are passed along to the resident at the time of the credit card transaction and are determined by Payment Service Network. There has been no investment by Payment Service Network for infrastructure or platform to incorporate any new functionality for residents or city staff since their software was implemented, which has resulted in numerous complaints from both residents and staff. So residents are complaining that the account setup for Payment Service Network is not user-friendly. They are also complaining that when they call Payment Service Network, they don't get good customer service or help. And then there's been some issues with Payment Service Network and making changes to the customers' accounts, resulting in late fees for the customers. And then residents are requesting a better way to pay online.
Do we have another option?
We've looked at Express Bill Pay as an option. Their fees are very similar.
And can we make that change without any penalty?
Yes. Yeah. we are not under contract with Payment Service Network. So we can change if that's what the council would like to look into doing, and we can dig deeper into the cost of it. The actual cost for it is very similar for the residents. Our cost will be a little higher. It'll be $19 a month for a fee for us, and then 25 cents per transaction versus we pay $50 a month for Payment Service Network. There's no cost for support fees for Payment Service Network, but there is a $75 cost per month with Express Bill Pay for customer service, but their customer service is much better, and we definitely lack customer service with Payment Service Network. So we feel that that's good, and we need that service, that support from them. So,
I got a question. I got a question real
Sure.
quick. So, I bank at Minco,
okay,
and I can, my water bill is the only bill I can't pay on my Minco app. Out of all my utilities,
okay.
that's the only bill. I pay Connexus through that, I pay CenterPoint through that, I pay my car insurance through that. It's, everything is done through Minco's app. Can the city do that?
I would have to look into that.
I mean, everybody
find
else is
out.
doing that on, bank apps. So I'm just wondering how the city would,
We can do ACH, yep, we can do it like, you turn in a check, a voided check, and we can do ACH, no cost. The city currently offers that to residents. So you don't have to use a third-party payment service company.
right, mine with the Minco, it just comes right on my account and goes, right, that connects this energy.
Right, that's what ACH we
But
would
I
get a
just-
check.
I just tap pay. I don't have to give them a check or anything.
I just,
I don't even tap pay, when she says ACH, it comes right out of my checking account.
Right, but me personally, I control when someone takes money out of my account. So
I like that feature a lot of times.
I just send it to them, just like that. And it's so easy.
Staff does recommend that if people do want to have the automatic payment, that they do ACH, as Councilman Burgley said. We'd have to look into that specifically. I'm not, as
Yeah.
Pam mentioned, I'm not quite sure. But there's no fees to that. And I don't know if every resident knows that. Using a third party is a good option if you need it, but if you are willing to do ACH and have it automatically withdrawn out of your account, you don't pay any kind of provider service fees, which is a benefit, because nobody wants to have a 3% fee if they don't need it. So we do have a billboard out there that has it on there too, right? Trying to educate people paying their utility bills in person. They can see that, like, oh, that doesn't cost anything. No, that doesn't cost anything. But this is if they want to pay it online and not have it automatically. So it's
I think we
something-
should do away with the
I
old
don't-
company. By all means, I think they need to go.
I don't pay anything.
That old one that's
With my Minco.
got a
I don't
horrible customer
pay extra
service.
to Pay it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's something they'd have to look into to see if
But I mean, I know Wells Fargo does it, and-
Affinity Plus does it too.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering how the city by Sandy utility bill could be part of that, but
I'd look into that. But
I don't know.
I would look into what Councilman Collison is saying, but as far as what's at hand, I think the old company needs to go.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'd like to add, thank you, Pam, for bringing this information forward, and it's something she spent quite a bit of time on and researching, because when we get our Payment Service Network, PSN bills in, what we don't have calculated here, even though this new software may be a little bit more expensive for the city side of it, is staff's time to dissect the invoice that they send us, because it's not always correct. And if it's not correct and our numbers don't add up, they will not look at it any further. It's staff that.
So they're not even willing to help you.
No, it'll either be Pam or Tabitha that have to go through, or Mike, and
Holy
they gotta
Hannah.
find where the discrepancy is, notify Payment Service Network that you have a discrepancy that is not correct, you didn't enter it incorrectly, and then please fix that, and then we gotta wait for it. But they won't fix it for us.
So
or go
even though
through
we're
it.
gonna pay a little more with the new one, it's gonna outweigh the cost because the old one just
I think 100%.
plainly sucks
Yeah,
that bad.
100%.
Yep, get rid of them.
Get rid of them. I'm with Burgley. Get rid of them.
So we'll be looking at an agreement to enter into with a new company, and that'll go to council. And we'll help transition our residents over and help them. If there's a crossover, one thing that we talked about with staff is that if they incur a fee because one didn't pay it, the other one was late, we'll waive those fees as we transition into the new for the first month, if council's okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully it goes smoothly for you.
I'm sure it will.
Good job, Pam. Let's move on to E5, the City Hive online sales. I don't have a clue what that is.
I can help you
All
figure
right.
that out.
Beehive?
Is it a beehive?
Nope.
Oh.
So Mayor and Kel's members, City Hive is a e-commerce platform. So it's a company that specializes in websites, helping people sell stuff online. We have Cloud Retailer as our point of sale system at the store. They do offer online sales. City Hive is a separate company, but they're a lot more proactive and a lot more user-friendly than what Cloud Retailer is. So I'm bringing this to you to answer any questions that you have and to kind of get your blessing to move forward with starting online sales through City Hive. It's going to be less expensive than using Cloud Retailer. It's going
That's
to
an
be
easy question then.
yeah, it's going to be a lot better and a lot easier for us. Not only less expensive as far as cost, but less expensive as far as having staff involved with setting it up and
So lots
You
of
get
it.
Does it go bing when you got an online sale? So you
So,
have someone, a
that's a
staff
great
member
question.
go?
Yeah,
and-
I mean, what happens when somebody buys something? They just show up and we look at them like, what are you doing, you know? Actually, we can customize it. What we plan on doing is having an email sent to myself and, you know, full-time staff, and then we're gonna set an email up on one of the registers, like Register 1, and then we're also gonna have a phone call so that we know when an order's placed, and then we'll treat it pretty much as we would like a curbside. We'll pull the order, have it ready, and they can come pick it up.
Does it give an annoying sound like bang, bang,
I don't
bang?
think so.
Oh,
but,
that'd
I
be
mean,
cool.
I'm sure they'd probably charge us extra to add something.
They
like
probably
that.
would.
We don't do that.
I mean, if it's
I think
cheap,
it's a good thing that, I mean, so many people order everything online now.
Yeah, so-
Restaurants, groceries.
if it's
It's a lot
cheaper
of,
and easier for staff,
Yep.
I'm
All
all
those people
for
will
it.
probably do curbside too, so.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we have seen, you know, curbside is a decent chunk of our business. Once people realize what those parking spots are for, they're pretty excited to use that. And I think this online sales is the next evolution of that. And I think eventually my goal is to capture some of that traffic farther south where people that might be in a hurry heading up north can just place their order, stop, grab it, and go, you know. The other thing I'd like to add is there's a lot of other MMBA member stores that are already using City Hive, and they recommend it. And, you know, there's, from my experience, when you have peers that use stuff and say
Right.
good things about it, people that you trust, I mean, that's a pretty good recommendation right there. I did list a few websites on the back if you guys want to take a look at some of the sites. They all pretty much look the same, but like Bagley, that is a store in the middle of nowhere, and they even have an app, which is an option for City Hive too. We could have an app for online sales where people wouldn't even have to go to our website. They can just push the app on their phone and
Wow,
they're shopping,
that'd be,
you know?
I think a lot of people would like that.
Yeah.
It simplifies it.
Yeah.
Councilman Collison's gonna need a second job.
Yeah.
You don't think that percentage will add up to be more though than what the cloud, our current?
The
deal is?
transaction percentage
Yeah.
and stuff, that's the only drawback, is that there's a transaction total. The 2.9% and the credit card processing
pay
fee.
that anyway, right?
Yeah, that's going to the credit card processing. The 2.5% of the sale is going to City Hive. So we are losing a little bit of margin there, but I think we'll make up for that in the increased sales. And another thing with that is, City Hive as a company, they're looking at if they get more municipal stores signed up like that are MMBA member stores, they'll lower that percentage, that transaction percentage. So their goal is to lower that to like 2% or 1.5%.
And then we pay $20 annually for isandyliquor.com.
Yeah.
I like
And
it.
that would be, that we get to pick our website right now. Cloud Retailer has a website and it's like isandyliquor.cloudretailer.com or something ridiculous like that. So this will be a lot nicer, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it looks sharp. I went on the Delano one and it looked like it was pretty easy to use and stuff, so.
Yep. Yeah, it's really user-friendly. The other part is we won't have to upload pictures to it.
Yeah, because they've
You
got
know, that
everything
it
stocked.
shares all the
yeah.
pictures where Cloud Retailer, you know, like, well, you'll have to take a picture of everything. I don't have time for
Just
that.
to set that up would be
Yeah.
tons and tons of hours, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I think that's, like I say, that's not, that's the future, but it's now. Everybody
Yep.
else is doing it.
Yep.
Good time to get on board and, because I'm sure there's gonna be some kinks maybe here and there.
Yeah, there
that
will
you-
be.
That you work through,
Yep.
but,
You know, nobody else around here has, as large of a liquor store we have, has a selection. Nobody else has online sales around here
Right.
either. So we'll be really setting the bar there.
that, definitely do the app though too, because
Yep.
people use apps for everything,
Oh, yeah.
so. And then, next time you're here, we're gonna discuss delivery options?
So we, with City Hive, they integrate with third-party delivery. So if somebody's doing DoorDash or whatever, that'll go through the website.
Oh.
So we can offer delivery without delivering.
Right,
So, I mean, personally, that's what I would like to see because
Well-
there's a lot of costs with having,
Yeah.
offering delivery, you know, insurance and
Yep.
vehicles. And,
you're putting all the liability on that
yeah.
third
Yep.
party to do the
Yep.
delivery for that
Yep.
customer.
And then the DoorDash, say, I'm just using DoorDash as an example, the customer would incur that cost, we wouldn't incur any
Right.
of that, so that's even better. So that'd probably
And
be
that's
coming
something
in
that
the
you could
future, too.
advertise too.
Mm-hmm, yep. Yep.
I like it a lot.
Yep. Convenience, you know, that's what everybody's after these days, so.
Anybody have any objections to the City Hive? Are we all go
Nope, I
for
think
that?
it's a good idea.
Get her done.
Thank you for your time.
Move on to E6, consideration of draft interim ordinance imposing a moratorium of the sale of certain cannabis products.
So this was at the last cow discussion, we had briefly discussed that with effective July 1st of this year, it became legal to sell the Delta-9 THC products, edibles, and other products that contain
Gummy bears.
an element of THC. And we discussed if we wanted to put in some regulations of how we would, if we were to regulate it, what do we want to do? And you can put in, the council can put in a moratorium to research it more. You can't exceed it by 12 months. If it impacts your zoning, if you want to have some kind of licensing for it. One thing I will mention in talking, I did draft this for your consideration this evening, but in talking with the city attorney, because we already have a business within the city that's selling it, he recommended that we don't put the moratorium in place on currently running businesses selling the products, but new establishing or businesses that are currently here that haven't sold it yet but are looking to sell it, because of the legality that we could get into fighting with this business that's currently selling it. So it's up for discussion. If you want to consider something like this, if we do want to regulate it at all, we can look into that, put this in place. If you've given it some thought and we don't want to regulate it until maybe we get a little bit more legislation telling us how to regulate it, because I do believe that this will come back through around, because the state made this decision before considering all the impacts that it'll make on local governments. And maybe we address it at that time. It's up for your
So
thoughts.
So that.
CBD joint?
CBD joint, are they actually selling the same products that the state said they?
They do have it advertised on their website and on their billboard. I have not been in their store, but they do advertise that they have Delta-9 products.
Oh, okay, so that's the whole key Delta-9, that's what's got
Yeah.
the THC in it.
I thought
The
that
higher
Delta 9,
amount.
I thought that Delta 9 was killing people. Is that the wrong one, chief? No, that is the one, or no? It's not?
And that's what I was curious of too. I mean, just from a policing perspective on that, I mean, what are we doing with all this stuff that's, I mean, this is harder to notice and harder to, I mean, you can smell actual pot, you know, I mean, what are we doing with all this silly stuff that, you know, all these other ways to
The
do
states
it
that have
without doing it, you
yeah,
know?
the states that have already legalized recreational marijuana still don't really have a good way of policing it.
Yeah.
There was some experimental breathalyzer thing or something I heard that they were gonna try, but I never heard of it.
Yeah, that, I mean, that's it. The alcohol one's been figured out, so we have that as far as to be able to figure somebody's into the influence, that's a bigger, you know, where's the markers on a, you know, criminal under the influence operating thing, that's an issue. The issue with this Delta 9 is just the similarities between the, you know, that would be legal, Delta 9 versus regular cannabis, which is illegal, and there's a lot of similarities that haven't been challenged in the court of law on some case law stuff, you know, and I won't get into the dirty details with that, but there's case law established with how we handle the other cannabis stuff, but we don't know how that, now that you have a very similar looking, feeling substance, how that's gonna play in there. So that's kind of the unknowns, and like Councilman McCallison said, the states that have now implemented, you know, legal cannabis, there's a whole nother rash of issues as far as more of the impaired operation is the one.
Yeah.
At what level? You know, it's easy to understand a blood alcohol level, but what is a THC level?
Hey, what are they gonna come up with, a finger prick
Right.
thing?
Dingle Doritos in front of you, and if you eat them,
But
Do you
again,
have any do you have
it's
any
gonna come out before we have the answers, the right answers, you know, it's here.
how can we regulate this when the state doesn't even have the right answers?
Well,
What I wanna know from the chief is, do you have specifics then, you know, if somebody's walking around with pot and smoking it versus,
That's illegal.
no, I know that, but I mean,
But the Delta 9, how are you gonna regulate that? I mean,
Well, we
You
do
can get-
have,
you can get a package of gummy bears that looks like gummy bears from Mobile gas station.
I will never eat gummy bears again. Way to ruin it for me.
So, I mean, you got a bunch of gummy bears in a Ziploc baggie.
we can test that, the flour, which is the leafy substance type similar stuff on that, on the stuff that has THC, stuff that doesn't have THC on a field test. I'm assuming at some point, they haven't did it yet, that there will be a field test for edible THC, but maybe not. We don't have that capability.
Yeah.
We can send that stuff out to get done, but that doesn't necessarily help you when you're walking down the street and you say,
Right.
I got Brock's Candy gummies with a funny plant picture in the background, you know,
Yeah.
that doesn't help.
So I guess I would ask you, I mean, you're gonna be the one to enforce it. How do we regulate it when the state really doesn't even have anything?
What do we do for tobacco?
The city doesn't do tobacco licensing, the
state?
county does it.
Well, the county does.
I guess I would be, if we're gonna allow one business to sell it, and we're not gonna do a moratorium for that one business, then I guess I'd be more inclined to say, let's not do a moratorium at all. You know what I mean? It's just,
But we
you're gonna let
gotta
one
determine,
business in town
right,
do
but
it, not anybody else.
we gotta determine what businesses are gonna sell it.
Well, yeah, you may be right about that, I guess so.
You know, I mean, do you want gummy bears on your pizza tonight from Jimmy's, you know? I mean, you know, we're, right now, only certain places, correct, that can sell tobacco products, correct? I mean,
Correct. I'm not,
So-
Jen, are you familiar? So they do have to be licensed to sell tobacco. If your license expires, you can't sell tobacco, so there is a process in place for that.
yeah,
We don't do business licensing within the city, which sometimes we've brought that up for discussions, because it'd sometimes be nice to know when they're coming before they're here, they're open. But we could do separate licensing for this product and take that on.
'Cause
It'd be
eventually-
nice if it falls within the wheelhouse of tobacco, if the county would take that on. I'm not aware. Perhaps you could ask the commissioner if they're doing something at the county level on it. But I unfortunately don't have that information. I'm not sure if they've discussed.
But I mean,
it.
we're not even informed fully on this. I mean, I don't know how we could do anything
Well, what this,
without all the
Well, it's-
information.
it's
well,
a-
what this interim
I mean, it's a mood
moratorium
controlling
does, yeah.
substance.
What this ordinance
alcohol,
does here is it's an interim one. It's not a permanent ordinance. It allows staff, state statute allows you to do this because it gives staff time to research the impacts it could make. We could look into this more, give it more thought, reach out to the county, and decide that, you know what, we're not going to regulate it. Then we pull this, it is what it is. Or we could determine, well, you know, we're finding that we see a store doing it, here's the challenges maybe the law enforcement is having with it, or X, Y, Z, things we don't know what are gonna come up. Maybe we do wanna regulate it, here's how we can regulate it, and gives us time to decide that. If we don't put this into place, it allows people to just do whatever they want.
Just to start doing it.
Businesses do whatever they want, correct.
Yep. That would be my,
From a zoning
Sure.
standpoint, right now, we could have it sold anywhere.
Right.
Theoretically, so it could be in a neighborhood business district where we often don't allow sales of other.
So you could get gummies on a Jimmy's Pizza is what you're saying.
You could, but oftentimes we only allow that stuff,
Maybe we
allow
give a
like
liquor
substances in a B3 business district, like our main business district, but.
Maybe we give out liquor license, can we come up with a license, or do we have to wait for the state to come up with that?
well, we do it for tattoo shops, we do it for wood pawn shops, liquor
Right.
license.
The state, yeah, we do have
You
liquor
know.
license, some we have to issue, they're issued with the state, and some the city has to also issue. And then we did put tattoo parlors to the state. We used to do that internally licensing, but we no longer do that.
Right.
Would we go back and license a CBD joint then, or would they just grandfather in?
We could,
So,
It would probably
we
start,
could also do a conditional use permit or an interim use permit and classify it different, so we're still aware that they're located somewhere, so we know how to follow or uphold them to the regulations that the state sets, but we're not setting more regulations, so there's a few different ways we could.
so hypothetically, if we determined after we researched this more that we did want to regulate it.
I think
To
we
answer
should,
your question, Burley, the CBD joint would be able to operate as is until we did have an ordinance go into effect, a permanent ordinance, not this interim one, but a permanent one. And then they would need to comply, or they would need to have some kind of exception through a conditional use or something. But otherwise, they would need to comply as soon as that new law was effective.
I think we should definitely give staff time to do their homework.
yeah. I think it's in our best interest to know who's selling it, whether we regulate,
I guess
You know,
that's the question too. I mean, are they
it's
selling
a-
it Quick Trip?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
We-
are they
So-
selling it
And
the
we
one
don't
next-
know.
yeah, are
We
they selling
know
it next to
the one
BP?
business does because
So-
they have it advertised. We'd have to try to do some work to find out who else is doing it, because what this is drafted to say is any, after we pass this, right now, it'd have to be posted for 10 days and it would go to the next city council meeting. So at the second meeting in September is when this would become effective. At that time, anyone who is not selling it cannot sell it until we say that you are permitted. But if they pop up at every gas station, for example, it's kind of the hand we were dealt by the legislator, we didn't know that this was coming. Probably some of the businesses did know it was coming, who were hoping, cheering.
I guess that's my point, is we put a moratorium on it and everybody is already selling it, then they're all gonna be exempt, and it's like, well, I mean, I
well,
guess.
they won't be exempt.
Well,
Once we do have
once we
something in
have that,
place,
right, but
they're
either
gonna
way-
have,
Yes, they'd have to comply if we
comply.
did. Yep.
and if we just, if we decided like it only can be sold in certain areas, if that place is not in that area, they'd have to stop selling it.
The last time that, just to give context, for the last time we did an interim moratorium ordinance was for small cells. When it became that cities and local governments had to comply and allow infrastructure to be placed in the small cell wireless infrastructure for 5G and the wireless connections, a moratorium, and I understand it was put into place to say, hold on a minute, we don't have any regulations on it. What is it gonna look like? Is it gonna be an ugly tower right outside someone's house? So we put a moratorium in place until we could research and put together an ordinance that said, yes, you can come here because we have to allow you, but here's what the aesthetics have to be. Here's the location that they can go in. Here's what it cannot not look like. So this would follow similar to that.
Putting the moratorium in place is giving them time to do their homework.
I mean, I'm okay with that then, I mean, but
I'm not
I just
against
think
it.
it's, I just think it's kind of silly to do it if everybody's already gonna be doing it, you know, then what's
I
the
ju-
point of the
well,
moratorium?
Well, it
I
would
just-
stop a business. If you had a
Right.
business
I
that
just-
was the THC Delta 9 store, it would prohibit that because they're not here. And we know that that's not here.
But it's gonna come. I mean, eventually, you know, we're one of the few states left that hasn't legalized, you know, recreational marijuana, and this is just a step in that direction, I think. So if we have, figure out what to do with this, maybe we'll be one step ahead if something else happens down the pipeline. And then we regulate where liquor can be sold. This is also, is it also a mood altering product, correct, officer? Or
Chief?
officer, chief?
Chief officer.
Chief
But-
officer?
So that's
Officer
why I
chief?
think there has to be
No, I'm not saying we.
something
Yeah, and I'm
to,
not saying we shouldn't, I'm just saying, is the moratorium really
Worth it?
necessary? Yeah, that's all I'm saying, is the moratorium necessary if we're gonna carve out exemptions for everybody that's already doing it, and we don't, you know, maybe there's already 3 or 4 places in town that are doing it, you know?
Yeah,
Right, that's my only point. I'm not saying we should never regulate it or anything like that, I'm just saying, is there really a point to the moratorium, or should we just figure it out as fast as we
what's the
can?
pros and cons on your opinion of doing it? I mean, you still gotta gather information regardless if we have that on or not.
Yeah, I think
Not,
that
but-
because, and other cities are in the same issue. I mean, everyone's trying to figure it out of where it should go, and it takes time to get all those things figured out, because if we don't allow it over here, where's it gonna go over there? I think the biggest benefit that I can see from this is there needs to be some parameters put onto it, and this allows us to not have this store pop up that is just selling this product.
Right.
We may not be able to stop the gas stations who
I mean, it could-
may or may not have it already, but
Could-
it's gonna be that store that pops up right next to the daycare that has fruity
what I
little
was saying.
gummies.
Yeah.
And everyone, potentially people, residents get upset that that came right by their kids' daycare facility. And why did it go there? Because we didn't have anything in place.
Yep, that's exactly where what I
So
thought.
I
some
think
is-
it's effective for
I saw it
that.
right next to a daycare, so,
Yeah, you're right,
Or
that's a real good point.
whatever.
So, yeah, I'd be okay with that, then, yeah.
So the consensus that I have is that we're gonna move forward, we're gonna post this for the required 10 days, then it will come onto the next council agenda. I believe actually the timeline, it'll hit the first council meeting in September. We'll be in time with that, with the 10-day requirement still.
So, wouldn't you almost have to go find out who's exactly selling it now, put them on the list? Okay, these people were already selling it, so they're okay?
We'll have to do
I-
the best
you
we
know.
can.
Do we know anybody else in town selling it other than the CBD joint?
I wouldn't
haven't
even
seen
know
any
what it looked like
postings.
if I saw it, so.
I wouldn't
It would just-
either.
it
I
would
think the
just-
biggest
probably
thing
just
to
say it
look
right
for
on the
is
front counter or
banners,
something,
because people
THC.
advertise it. When I see stores that have it, they're showing they have it. So I think that's what we'll look for.
Wasn't there a Delta 8 too?
That is legal. That was legal prior to this. Yes, they did sell that as well.
Was that the one killing people? Is that what wasn't there something that was killing people?
The synthetic one was very popular. Synthetic.
Yes.
Yeah, the K2.
Yeah,
what
that's
it
the
was,
one.
Yeah.
Shows you how much I know. What just happened to the old days where you just rolled it in a zigzag and
Okay, thank you.
Seems to make more sense than all this stuff.
right, I don't get any of this 2K whatever. All right, we'll move on to E7, the Legacy Pines tree requirements discussion, and I'm betting that's Stephanie.
Yes, I've been the lucky one dealing with this. The city has been working through some clarification of the city landscaping ordinance with residents as well as the building official and, am I not close enough? Sorry. Better?
Yeah,
Um,
got to get in there like you mean it, stuff.
So section 15, fence screening and landscaping, due to some conversations that we've had, I know the mayor has been involved. After looking at the timelines, and what the city has been directed to do via development agreements, oftentimes they'll state what the requirements are for landscaping for that development due to creating a PUD, which allows us to go outside of the ordinance, as you're all aware. We have inconsistency between the development agreements and what our city ordinance states for requirements. I went into some history here saying that the last time in 2008, City Ordinance 445 was adopted. And the language from this section actually precedes the ordinance and was adopted in 2006 in Ordinance 382. And then previous to that, Ordinance 254 governed all landscaping, and then before that, it was 176, which was adopted in 1993. Unfortunately, a lot of the development agreements were created prior to 2006 and 2008, so a lot of them fall to 254, which requires 2 trees in the front yard and 4 trees on a corner lot. And so precedence has held through, and that's what staff have been directed over and over again for years. And with staff changeover, that's what's in even in the directions for staff that have been created in recent years. So staff has been going by that, which is correct for some of the developments that we currently have under construction.
So the question is, are we supposed to be doing 2, 3, or 4 trees?
So currently, we are supposed to be doing in the, right now, under construction developments, I guess saying the ones that we are really under construction, because there are still various lots throughout the city that fall under these other development agreements that are not constructed on yet, so they're all different. But the ones in Legacy Pines, specifically the ones we're talking about right now, they are supposed to get 2 trees in the front unless the lot is over 8,000 square feet, then it's gonna require 3 trees. And if it's over 12,000 square feet, which most of them are, it's gonna require 4 trees. So since 2000,